Hello again, long time no see, right? Okay, well, like Miss Sellers said earlier, I was also in her Young Adult Lit class last fall, and it's one of the best classes that I've ever taken. I read so many books that I hadn't read before and made an even longer list of books to read after the class. But one of the books that I'd chosen for our research critical analysis papers was The Chocolate War by Robert Cormier. And this is a book that, you know, as an English person, you always hear about this book, but I'd never read it prior to this class. So I put it on my list so that I would, you know, have to read it and learn a little bit about it. But today I'm going to be talking primarily about the themes found in this book. Now, the central question of this book can be found on a poster that's in the back of Jerry Renault, the protagonist's locker. And the poster says, "Do I dare disturb the universe?" And that's actually a line from the love song of Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. And this question is kind of what guides the book and is the central question and helps us think about the theme of the book. And the answer to this question we find out at the end is ultimately no, disturbing the universe is kind of not a good thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And we're also going to be discussing some other central themes, such as the theme of power, the theme of nonconformity, and also a little bit of the theme of opposition to structured religion. And so throughout this book, Jerry he takes his chances, and he attempts to disturb the universe, but in the end, he's actually punished for his nonconformity. So, first question we're going to look at is, how exactly does Jerry disturb the universe at Trinity? So Jerry is a freshman at Trinity School, which is an all-male Catholic boarding school. And their yearly fundraiser is a chocolate sale. They have to sell these chocolates to make money for their school. And there's also this secret group at the school called the Vigils. And they kind of underhandedly run the school. They have a lot of power in the school. And they actually pressure him into refusing to sell the chocolate bars for a 10-day period. So as a freshman, he goes to the school, he's trying to fit in, he's new. So he lets the Vigils pressure him into refusing to sell the chocolates for this first 10-day period. So that's really Jerry's first incidence of disturbing the universe. And we'll see as we continue that he continues to do so throughout the book. So Jerry's refusal to conform to the chocolate sale, it sends Brother Leon, one of the teachers and administrators of the school, into this state of anger and frustration. So he actually attempts to alienate Jerry and make him realize that what he's doing is wrong and that he should be selling the chocolates and take pride in his school in that way. And he says that the chocolates can be picked up in the gym by those of you who are true sons of Trinity. So by saying that, he's basically alienating Jerry and calling him out in front of the whole class for refusing to participate in this voluntary chocolate sale. Okay, so even after the original 10-day period is up, Jerry decides that he's going to continue not selling chocolates. Because the Vigils only asked him to do it for 10 days, and then they told him that he would be selling the chocolates. Well, he decided he wasn't going to listen to them either, and that he was going to continue disturbing the universe by not selling the chocolates at all. And what happens is that when this happens, he's faced with all of this pressure from the faculty, the students, and also from the Vigils now to start selling the chocolates so that everything will go back to normal. And throughout this whole book, readers are actually cheering Jerry on for not conforming and for his insistence on the voluntary nature of the project, on his right to choose and disturb the universe. Which, you know, it's kind of funny to think about because typically, in real life at least, nonconformity is not something that people cheer for. So, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on. So now we're going to move on to the theme of power, and we're going to talk about who has that power and how that power is being used. So as I said before, Jerry's a freshman, so he comes into the school and he's kind of at the lower end of the pre-established universe of the school. So he doesn't have a whole lot of power. But Brother Leon, on the other hand, he is one of the head faculty members there, And he uses his power to try to convince and manipulate Jerry into giving in to the pressure and selling the chocolates anyway. And he fails. Jerry never does sell the chocolates. But at first, Jerry's actually a little bit intimidated by the power. Because like I said, he's a freshman, he's new, he doesn't want to risk ruining his reputation, but at the same time, he also wants to stand his ground. And he actually says at the end of the novel, after things turn out not so well for him, he's actually injured in a really bad fight on the football field near the end of the book. And he tells his friend Goober to do whatever they want you to do and play ball. And so he's found out that refusing to conform to and fit under that power structure is a bad thing, and it didn't work out in his favor. So he's telling his friend, do what they tell you to so that you don't end up in this situation. So learn from my mistakes. And Betty Carter and Karen Harris wrote this critical essay in talking about the chocolate war, and they said that the instance between Jerry and Goober encapsulates the lesson that Jerry has so painfully learned. He had better cooperate with the power structure or he would get crushed. And that's what he's trying to tell his friend, is that, well, look at what happened to me when I didn't conform to the system, so don't let that same thing happen to you. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about nonconformity, and these themes all go hand in hand, so forgive me if I sound a little bit repetitive. But nonconformity, in the biggest sense of nonconformity in the book, is the fact that Jerry refuses to conform to the school's way by participating in the chocolate sale. Because as I said before, the school keeps saying, the chocolate sale is voluntary, but everybody is expected to do it. I know that we've all been in situations where something is voluntary, but it's kind of you have to do it anyway. So that's kind of what this is like. And Jerry's reason that he gives for not participating in the sale, he says that it's a free country and that because the sale is voluntary, he doesn't feel obligated to participate. So he stands his ground throughout the book and continues to say, no, I'm not going to sell chocolates. Every day he's asked, how many chocolates have you sold? And he says, none. Every day. And this critical essay says that Sylvia Patterson Iskander, she says that Jerry's refusal to sell the chocolates is not an easy choice to make, because he's not only refusing to yield to peer pressure, but he's also refusing to surrender to an inner desire to conform and refusing to submit to the tyranny of Brother Leon. And so throughout this book, Jerry's not conforming to the power system. He's not conforming to what his peers want him to do, what the teachers want him to do. And most importantly, he's not conforming to the Trinity way and the way that the universe of the school works. And he actually, throughout the novel, he gains the moral admiration of his readers because he's defying that corruption and the pressure. But while he does that, he's still managing to maintain his sense of individuality. And this also is something that Jerry says at the end of the novel after he's beaten up and realizes that nonconformity has not gotten him anywhere. He says, they tell you to do your thing, but they don't mean it. They don't want you to do your thing, not unless it happens to be their thing too. And so this is just trying to say that, everyone kind of preaches nonconformity and praises individuality, but in reality, when somebody is different or they don't conform to societal norms, they're typically shunned for it. And one example of that is religion, and that's what we're going to be talking about next. And we're going to just discuss a couple of the underlying themes of opposition to structured religion that can be found in this book. And these are very subtle themes, but they're still present, so we're going to discuss that. Okay, so we're going to think a little bit about Brother Leon, because he plays a pretty significant role in this book and in Jerry's refusal to participate in the sales. So both Brother Leon and the Vigils as well, they try to intimidate Jerry into conforming to the Trinity way by selling the chocolates. And it says that, when Jerry refuses to comply, he's shunned and alienated by faculty and students at Trinity. So by the end of the book, pretty much everybody at the school hates him because he hasn't conformed to the Trinity way. And so we can think, if we think about this and look at it through a religious lens, we might see Brother Leon as a type of preacher or pastor, like a fire and brimstone type that is trying to convince his followers to do the right thing. And then the students and the vigils can also be considered those fellow believers in the congregation who are also trying to kind of push their beliefs onto Jerry. So now we're going to take a minute and rewind and go back and revisit some of the quotes that I've already talked about, and we're just going to look at them through this religious lens and see what that implies. So, and this is where Brother Leon says that the chocolates can be picked up in the gym by those of you who are true sons of Trinity. And so this, when I read this, it reminded me of the fact that, you know, in order to get into heaven, you have to be a true son of God, and you have to be saved and forgiven of your sins. And there's all of these, you have to have accepted Jesus in your heart in order to be able to go to heaven. So this kind of reminded me, well, you have to sell the chocolates in order to be a significant part of this universe at Trinity High School. So, and this kind of gives off a sort of elitist mentality, and it alienates any of those who aren't necessarily followers. So now we're going to talk again about how, you know, the readers cheer him on. And like I said before, typically in the real world, nonconformity is something that isn't cheered for. But it's interesting to read this book and see how, you know, we don't want Jerry to start selling the chocolates. As I read the book, I was afraid that after that 10-day period was up that he was going to give in and start selling the chocolates, and I didn't want him to. So I was really happy that he didn't, but the ending is still kind of really just a sad thing, because it's saying that, you know, you're not going to get anywhere in this world if you disturb that universe. And this, talking about the voluntary nature and the right to choose. Choosing a religion is, that's a voluntary thing, and that is your personal choice, and people should have that right to choose. But, you know, people should have the right to do what they please, but in reality, you know, we don't have a lot of people cheering for the nonconformity or for opposition to structured religion. We think that everybody should have their religion and have their place in society. So. And this is where Jerry says, again, it says they tell you to do your thing, but they don't mean it. They don't want you to do your thing, not unless it happens to be their thing too. And this is the same thing going back to, you know, individuality and conformity, or individuality and nonconformity sound like really great ideas, but when they're put into practice, a lot of people are shunned for that. And if they refuse to conform to those societal standards and expectations, they're kind of viewed as outsiders of sorts. So now I actually, this is in addition to the paper that I've written. This was not in the original copy. After I reread it again to start preparing for this, I picked up on a lot of the religious stuff that I didn't see before, so I found this. And the name of the article is The Treatment of Religion and the Independent Investigation of Spiritual Truth in Fiction for Adolescents. And Ms. Shaw says that a reflection of the hopelessness and loss of faith can be found within the pages of The Chocolate War. So obviously at the end, after Jerry has disturbed the universe and is beaten up for it, we can see that he has completely lost faith in everything that he believed in throughout the rest of the novel. And she also says that this young adult novel leaves the reader feeling demoralized and questioning organized religion and its leaders. And you can see that too. You can see that Jerry is questioning everything that's going on around him and the power system that's in place at the school. And this was just a very thought-provoking book. So after all has been said and done, I guess what we have to ask ourselves now is, do we dare disturb the universe?